And the year 2021 has been a year of riches. Irrespective of what you bought, NFT, crypto, small cap, large cap, it's been a year where in general, if you bet on most of the asset classes, you've made money. While it's also been a year of even greater losses for those who've lost their near and dear ones to the pandemic. It's also been a year of self-assessment and reconciliation, but finally it's a year when the human spirit has prevailed above all. So what a year it's been. But in markets, it's not about analyzing what has happened, it is analyzing what will happen. And that's what we intend to do with Ramdev Agrawal on ET Now the next couple of minutes, trying to understand where he feels there is value, there is growth, and there is scope for making money. Mr. Agrawal, fantastic to have you on ET Now and ET Now Swadesh. Always look forward to our interactions. It's been a year of riches, Mr. Agrawal. Doesn't matter what you bought. As long as you participated in equity, NFT, crypto, Bitcoin, it's a year where your balance sheet in a sense is looking good.
Yeah, I think this has been quite an unexpected year, I would say. I mean, at the end of 2020, we would have never thought that 21 would be such a bumper year across asset classes. And I think we are passing through unusual time in terms of massive liquidity, very low interest rates, very high inflation, very high asset prices world over, and investment boom in private equity as well as public equity. So maybe this is a golden era of equities.
Now, while there is no logic in trying to divide years mathematically, but historically I've always seen that when the year changes, the trend always changes. I don't know why that happens, but it has happened in the past. So how much of the bullishness and the underlying wealth effect which is got created because of high liquidity will spill over to 2022?
Yeah, so markets are very smart and sensing the any kind of a change in the liquidity situation or cost of liquidity significantly climbing because the macro thing is not that straight and we thought that once the tapping is announced, maybe the bond yields will go up, but now it is again come down to 140, 141 types. So clearly there are a lot of macro variables which is not as per the textbook, at least the old textbook. So we have to take the things as it comes, and I don't think we should do too much of macro betting. We should be very micro. We must look at the company, we must look at the sector, and the valuation, whatever one can understand, and then go about doing it rather than trying to make a macro call.
So let's talk about the market setting for 2022. Interest rates will move higher. For companies, the base effect would kick in. Inflation is a reality. How would you connect the dots here?
Dots mean, what are you hinting at?
I'm trying to understand that what happens to equity markets in the light of high inflation, a possibility of a rate hike, and a base effect on earnings. What happens to underlying valuations and equity markets? Mr. Agrawal, you want me to ask you the question again? No, my question, Mr. Agrawal, is that let's look at the possible scenarios for 2022. Interest rates will move higher. It will impact valuations. Impact of inflation will eat into margins, or it will have impact on profitability for companies. And then you got this entire conundrum on which way liquidity will move for emerging markets, given what is happening to the risk appetite. So how do you think these three things will come together and impact equity markets in general?
See, typically what I have seen in the equity market is that once you have a very big year, then next day is clearly kind of a little more moderating type. I mean, even in a long bull run, even if you think that after 2020 correction, this is the start of a new bull phase. So it may last for many years to go. I mean, that all depends on the how well the economy does, how well the corporate profits move. But intermittently, there will be corrections and there'll be periods, long periods of moderate performance. So particularly whenever you have a bumper year in last year, so I was thinking that next year would be much more moderate. But as the correction is getting set in this year itself, I think if the correction becomes a little deeper, then I think we are setting the stage for a again good year in 2022.
Has the extent of this recent correction of 10%, which has happened in a matter of 3 weeks, surprised you?
No, I was in fact more than expecting you. I mean, I'm not a great market watcher, but it has not come at all as a surprise. And I would think that a little more correction will be better for the long-term investors in the market.
Now, it's difficult to predict what FIs would do, but we've seen that their selling matters. So far, domestic investors have managed to digest the selling which is coming from there. But if FIs they continue to sell, are we looking at some more collateral damage for FI-owned sectors, private banks, IT, to some extent, consumer names?
Yes, I would think that in next a month or so, the correction should get completed. I mean, and our own, kind of for the year. First thing is the year changes. So I think again calculation starts from the new year. So whatever outperformance or excess performance is there of India, that will go in backdrop, and hopefully it will not be too much of a matter. But I think that excess performance of say 20%, 10% has already corrected. So maybe some more corrections and then we move into the new year, and the mood of FIs may also change. What I find is that for 22-23, some very intelligent guys are saying that the growth could be as high as 8% or 9% in the economy. I think that really matters. If that were to be so, then when they will come, I don't know, but it's a matter of time that they will change their view and they will start piling on. The moment it is clear that next year, come what may, we are going to grow at 8 to 9% in the economy. I think that's the outlook. If we have, then clearly we are in for a good time in 22.
Fair point. So how does one understand that the risk reward ratio, considering that we have a potential to grow at 8 to 9% and earnings growth of 15% plus on an aggregate basis, 15 to 20%, is something that is not in the price? Because you've always said in the past that अगर आप और मैं कोई चीज डिस्कस कर रहे हैं तो मार्केट उसको डिस्काउंट कर चुका है. So why do you think markets are not discounting this?
I'm also not sure whether 8% will come. Because this year 10% is on the 8.5%, 9% growth is on the back of low base. So we are just about coming back to the pre-COVID right now. So next year, hopefully it is start of a new phase of Indian economy. Very good forex balance, very good IT exports. Other non-IT exports are also doing very well. China plus policy is gaining ground. Your startup capital is quite buoyant, in fact unprecedentedly buoyant. Then your private equity is very good. Your public markets are doing well. IPO market is buoyant. So I think from all sides, we have a lot of tailwind for the economy to pick up in the second year in 22-23. And the probability is that we'll do very well, and hence the market should also, because after the correction, valuations are reasonable at 25-26 multiple. And if the EPS were to go from 730 this year expected, more like 830, 840 next year, I think we should have a reasonably good year in the next year.
Ramdevji, you've always shared something interesting with us, and you've said that, look, markets always surprise us. They can surprise you on the upside and they can surprise you on the downside. We've had a good surprise on earnings and on the market return front also. So what is your understanding? This is a cycle which has started, ये 3, 4, 5, 6 साल की cycle है.
मुझे तो ऐसे लगता है क्योंकि what I have seen in last 40 years is that every 7, 8 years, 10 years, you have one big cleansing up, complete cleansing up. 92 was a cleansing, 2000 was cleansing, 2008 was cleansing, then 2020 we saw The reason could be different every time, but whatever excess was there in the market, it all got cleaned up. And then the new story starts, and again it builds and then overbuilds in next 7-8 years. So right now we are building up. Maybe at some point of time it will go out of hand and become overbuilt. So we're in that bull phase, and hopefully, I mean, when I see some of the statements of the consultants and all, global consultants, and they say that India could grow at about almost 8 to 10% in next decade, they are saying. So I mean, a lot of people like Mark Mobius, McKinsey chief. I mean, I don't have any special way to look at any crystal ball gazing for Indian economy. But if by chance we can grow at 8% plus, then we are in a fantastic situation to make good money in equity markets in the years to come. You know, and that doesn't seem to be in the price, because I'm not too sure about 8% growth next year.
Okay. तो रामदेव जी, शेयर बाजार में बोलते हैं that courses remain the same, horses they change. तो आप जिस चीज पे फोकस करते हैं वो है प्रॉफिट पूल और अर्निंग्स. तो अगला बड़ा प्रॉफिट पूल कौन सा है शेयर बाजार के लिए?
देखिए, जो कन्वेंशनल आपके प्रॉफिट पूल है, जैसे इंडियन आईटी है, योर बैंकिंग फाइनेंस सर्विसेज है. सो लाइक हमारे वेल्थ क्रिएशन स्टडी में इट इज वेरी क्लियर दैट almost 24-25% comes from maybe even 27-28% comes from banking and financial companies. Then you have another 23-24% coming from IT, which has emerged as the largest sector. और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि going forward in next 5-6 years, this IT sector is not only going to have large rise in the total profits, but the quality of profit is also very good. So I think that is going to become, it could become the largest sector, but I don't think it can beat the BFSI, but still IT remains a very large one. Now the new segment which is coming up is the digital segment. I mean, right now most of the companies are not making money. Few of them, like India Mart, are not making money, but very small. But I think serious amount of money, running into thousands of crores, will be made in next 2-3 years by some companies. So my sense is that in next 10 years, I think one of the segments which will have a very large share of profit of the total corporate profits. Total corporate profit itself will grow by say 50% in next 10 years. So it will be 4x from here. Say if we make about 5 lakh crores profit, it will be about 20 lakh crores in next 10 years. But of that, about 20% would be coming from digital companies. So it will be a very large segment as we go forward.
रामदेव जी, सो डिजिटल कंपनी पे थोड़ी बातचीत करते हैं. मैं ग्लोबल डेटा देख रहा था, रॉबिनहुड का शेयर हो या फ्रेशवर्क्स का शेयर हो या फिर अलीबाबा का शेयर हो, ग्लोबली सब बड़ी इंटरनेट कंपनीज के अंदर 30 से 70% की गिरावट आ चुकी है. और क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान में इन जो कंपनियों की वैल्यूएशंस हुई हैं वो ग्लोबल बेंचमार्किंग की वजह से हुई हैं. आपने जोमेटो की प्राइसिंग करी है, आपने पॉलिसी बाजार की प्राइसिंग करी, ये ग्लोबल बेंचमार्क्स में हुई है. बिकॉज ग्लोबली प्राइसेस हैव कम डाउन, क्या ये नई इंटरनेट कंपनीज को झटका लग सकता है? और
पक्का लगेगा. देखिए, आप इसका ख्याल करें. आई हैव सीन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ अमेज़न. इसकी लिस्टिंग हुई थी 95 में, कुछ $10-15 में लिस्टिंग हुई थी, और यहाँ से बढ़ के हो गया करीब $100 के आसपास हो गए 98-99 Y2 के बूम में. एंड देन इट क्रैश टू $5. जो भाव में इशू हुआ था उससे भी नीचे आ गए $5. जितने इन्वेस्टर थे सब साफ हो गए. जो ओरिजिनल इन्वेस्टर थे कोई नहीं रहे. उसके बाद पूरा का पूरा न्यू सेट ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स आया, और वो जो 2-5 बिलियन डॉलर का कंपनी था वो $2 ट्रिलियन की कंपनी बनी 20 साल में. तो ये कहानी फिर से रिपीट होगी यहाँ पर. और हमको ख्याल है कि Y2K जब हुआ था तो 93-94 में कोई नहीं पूछता था ये टेक कंपनीज को. फिर 96-97 में जब Y2K आया, सो देन द एक्सप्लोजन हैपेंड एंड कंपनीज वेंट 100x, 200x, एंड देन इट क्रैश्ड, and it crashed very badly. 80-90% crashing was there. Even the best of the companies crashed by 80-90%, and then from there we rebuilt to what we see today, 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs and all. So I think the same kind of story can happen. When it will happen, how it will happen, that only time will tell. But anything excess cannot last for a very long time. The hype which is created around these digital companies, they are also businesses, they also do free cash flow, they have some unique characteristics, but still they have to earn their whatever valuation is. And if they don't earn, they have to be corrected. So I'm very clear that these companies will see some kind of a correction or a stagnation in the prices. That, I mean, two ways you can, time wise you can correct or price wise you can correct.
Now, since you've invested in Zomato, I'm curious to understand that what will be your strategy for some of these internet companies be? Would you be just chancing, would you be just taking small bets in one or two companies, or you are looking at, let's say, migrating 15-20% of your total corpus eventually in some of these new age businesses?
I mean, it will be very slow. We will not take very large bites into any company because our own understanding is very limited and valuations are also not that what you call reasonable. So, but still we have to learn the game because we know because they are high growth companies, maybe the correction might be very shallow and we will not be able to catch them whenever it corrects. So you have to put your bet a little bit and try to see that you buy into 2, 3, 4 companies on which your conviction are highest and see the winner in this category with the so to finish first you have to finish. So the companies which have very good execution capability and the entrepreneurs are very good and the guys who are going to last for next 15, 20 years and they are going to be winner. So winners are underpriced and the companies which are average or those who are not likely to win, they are grossly overpriced. Now, who is going to be winner, who is going to be loser, that becomes a bit of tricky thing, at this juncture.
So let's talk about IT services, the traditional IT services model which we are aware of. I looked at Accenture numbers and on a large base, they are indicating a growth of 20%, approximately 20%. So what does that tell you about which way large cap IT stocks are headed? They've had a great 2020, a fantastic 2021. Given the momentum which is there, do you think these stocks can still give double-digit returns from here?
I would think so. I mean, I think this is unprecedented time, like what happened in Y2K. I think digital transformation of the world businesses, even if you're failing, still you have to do digital transformation. So the ones which are successful, the new ones, they have to do digital transformation. But the ones which are struggling, they also need to digitally transform themselves. So I think the digital transformation has taken a pace, particularly after COVID. It is literally urgent and IT budgets are going up. And so there is now the problem is the supply. Just 2 years back, they were struggling to get enough orders. And now suddenly it is a seller's market. And clearly you can see the attrition, you can see the price also uptick in their services billing. So I think very good period is there. Now, how long it is going to last? Most of the guys I talk to, the CEOs, they say it is going to last 2-3 years because you can desire that I want to do all these projects, but it can be executed at a pace. So everybody's order book is full. Anybody who can execute. So my sense is that the recruitment which has happened in last year, they will get trained and they will come into the workforce and they can deliver only starting from maybe second half of this year, and bulk of the delivery peak will happen maybe first half of next year. So my sense is that we have a good runway, but quite a bit of it is there in the price. We must not forget that at about 35 P multiple, they are literally 50-60% higher than the average what they used to trade it. So keep in mind that particular aspect, but the longevity of this bull run may not be in the price.
So will I be reasonable if I say that if the underlying growth trend continues and if the starting point is the current starting point for large cap IT stocks, in 3 years these stocks can double? Is that a reasonable estimate?
No, I think that is over expectation. I would say 4 years, not 25%, but more like 70-80%. That should be the good way to expect. But even if you do 15%, very safe, very high quality, 2-3% dividend. So if your price goes up by 15% and you get about 2-3% dividend yield, I think you are very well off. And these companies are very stable, very high quality, very global in character, and they are inevitable for the global economy. And they are not at the mercy of any government policies, regulation, nothing. So I would think that these companies don't have too much expectation. A lot of things can happen, but expecting double in 4 to 5 years would not be out of place.
So I'm going to remind our viewers of a conversation we had once upon a time, and it was literally once upon a time, kai saalo pehle, and you said the following, that Nikunj, the way I invest is that I want my money to double in 2.5 to 3.5 years. That's the kind of hurdle rate I look at. So in your assessment, if IT cannot double as an investment in 3 years, in this market, what can double in 3 years? That's a 20% CAGR return, a very reasonable return.
No, 3 years double means 25%, 26% actually. Okay, so a rule of 72 divided by 3 works at about 25, 26%. So yes, there are segments within digital. I think digital has that hope because the digital main criteria is that they can grow very rapidly and they can be very global also. So because of their friction-free delivery of products and services, I think we are going to see new growth companies coming from there. And then when economy takes off, there will be segmental opportunities. I mean, mid-sized IT companies can also deliver that. I think in this bull run of next 5-6 years, I think Indian IT will deliver another 3-4 mega companies like what you have in Infosys, TCS, SCLT. Even now Tech Mahindra has gone to that league. So, there will be some companies which will go from 15, 20, 30,000 to more than 1 lakh or 2 lakh crore. So I think we have a chance of seeing some well-managed, large, mid-sized companies crossing that chasm.
So Ramdevji, if I take the clock of last 10 years, we've seen the birth of 3 outstanding companies, and you've participated, I think, in all 3 of them. DMart, Indigo, and Bajaj Finance. They have been the real darlings of the market. They've created huge amount of wealth, and they are from 3 different sectors: airline, financial services, and retail. Where are you laying your bets for this decade? Because history will repeat itself. Multi-bagger तो आएगा. कौन सा आएगा is the endeavor.
अभी देखो, ये बोलने का बहुत मुश्किल है. हम 25-30 कंपनी खरीदते हैं एक फंड में, and the aspiration is always there to see that these companies, they go multi-fold for the customers, But to say right now, I mean, if you ask me, the highest priority is from the digital companies because they are very small right now, very, very small, and potential is very high. And the potential is not only Indian, the potential is global. So what we saw in IT between 95 and 2002 and then now in last 20 years, I think that 20-year journey will be compressed in successful companies in 10 years. So the game is going to be far more exciting in the digital companies. And the companies, the old companies which are digitizing, say like Bajaj Finance and all, who are trying to become a lot more digital as we go along. And there will be a lot of companies, in fact, all the successful companies from the old economy, they will go digital. And that is where exactly a lot of opportunities are there because people who are, digital companies, people knowing that they're digital companies. But the old companies who are digitizing themselves and they are becoming 100% digital. And today, people may not be aware of the change in the process. So I think that's where the opportunity is going to be. And that's why in our research, we have to see which are the well-run companies which are increasing their digital quotient in their operations. And those companies, I think, will surprise us in terms of multiple re-rating and, of course, earnings growth. Because today, in digital companies, the earnings are not visible, but the P multiples are very high. I mean, valuations are very high. But the companies which are old economy, but going digital, their valuations are low. And as the earnings growth comes, I think market will be surprised by the earnings growth as well as by the valuation.
So I'll use a term which perhaps is your favorite term and something which you applied in your investment philosophy, value migration. And I'm going to connect, Mr. Agarwal, value migration in the financial space because everything in the financial space is now getting challenged. There are fintechs which are trying to become big in distribution. There are fintechs which are trying to become big in lending. There are fintechs which are trying to become big in MSME lending. There are fintechs which are trying to only become sellers of, are trying to dominate the brokerage space. Where do you think the value migration is happening in the financial space and who will be the outsized winner?
Nico, this is a very large space and everybody needs the financial services. What about financial services? And everything is going digital. actually everything is going phygital, and in some cases it is going completely digital, because these services which can be delivered end to end digitally. I mean, customer onboarding can happen digitally, and then services can be delivered, and even the customer service can be digital. So as the internet becomes even more friendly, softwares become more friendly, we'll see that financial services will become more and more digitized. And in digitally surcharged environment, you don't need many players. I mean, the scalability of a single successful company is extremely high. So you don't need 20 banks, maybe 5 banks are good enough. So I think whether it is banks, whether it is insurance, whether it is broking, asset management, you name it, everywhere migration will happen. And the winners are going to be, of course, the guys who do their USP very well. I mean, whatever, if it is asset management, the performance is good. But on the customer service side, I think the companies which can digitize themselves and gain the productivity in every aspect of it are the companies which are going to do well. And it is going to come from everywhere, whether it is broking, banking, NBFCs, insurance, NBFCs, you name it, everywhere this phenomenon will be there.
Markets a year and a half ago were in a sense chasing AMC stocks. Great listing by HDFC AMC. Your stock also got re-rated couple of years ago. But right now as we speak, all the AMC stocks are at a 52-week low. Even though we are in a bull market, even though SIPs are going, because markets are worried about disruptor. So let me ask a manager and an investor, is the current fear in AMC stocks a time for a long-time investor to invest in?
I think it's a food for thought for all the asset managers, because onslaught of digital distribution and advent of ETFs and challenge of performance, in this last 3-4 years, I think it has become very difficult to give outsized performance as an active manager, and that particular thing has created a lot of problem in the possibility of what is going to be the future of because the disruptors are there. I mean, there are ETFs, there are digital distribution, a lot of things are there. So the guys who can deliver in a sustained way outperformance and collect AUMs are the companies which one should look forward to really invest in, because this is one of the finest business, most intellectual and intellectual, and it is of a very asset light. There is no asset intensity, and a very large base of customers are yet to come. We are seeing onboarding of a lot of customers in the stock market. I think we are going to see even many more customers coming into the mutual fund fold as we go forward. And we are seeing already the SIPs are crossing 11,000 crores and all per month. So my sense is that at some point of time, I think AMCs will become a very good buy. But at this juncture, I think there is a bit of headwind in terms of performance and all. But so the growth is basically challenged right now. The current profitability is not an issue. The growth is a bit of challenge. And as these companies, they find new way of growing, I think market will appreciate in the days to come. Globally, the experience globally is also repeating here. The AMCs worldwide are trading about 12 to 15 times. Here in India, it is trading at upwards of 25 to 30 times. So I think there is some kind of global benchmark, and that's why markets are being a bit cautious on this.
So I've got 3 last questions. My next question is about a group where you've invested in and you've remained invested for years, HDFC group companies, whether it's HDFC Bank or HDFC Life or even HDFC Limited. Why are HDFC group of stocks getting derated in this kind of bull market? They are the go-to stocks in terms of growth, corporate governance, technology, adaptation, yet they're underperforming.
I think somewhere the market character has been very different in last 2-3 years. It has been much more mid cap and small cap rally, not so much of large cap, and FIs have been actually selling. So and these are the stocks which are darlings of FIs. and FIs have not been the particularly the big investor in the large caps, listed large caps in India. So to some extent, they have suffered because of that. That's what I think, because the financial performance is as good as it can be, and the outlook is also very good, and stable leadership is there. Businesses underlying are very good. Their growth rates are. And second is that maybe at some stage they were little overpriced compared to the peer set. Now peer set has also come in, so now the investor have a choice to switch from one to other, and there's not only one HDFC Bank. There are, say, ICICI has come up. So some arbitrage has happened. So those kind of things are happening. But broadly, I think maybe this is a great time to relook at these companies for investment.